Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. This video is about CA Final Self-Paced Coding Module, Set B Costing, Chapter number 5, Managing Cost Strategically for Emerging Business Models. Or in short, you can call it Chapter number 5, Emerging Business Models. In this, we'll be seeing about all the emerging business models and the new age things which we are having apart from the traditional method of doing the business. And one small reminder before going into the chapter, please subscribe to this channel if you find this very useful. Also, like the video and share this to your friends so that they will also get benefit from this video. And also select the all notifications button and enable it so that you will get notifications of our further videos. Now this is the long list of topics which you are going to see in this chapter. First thing is, what is the new thing that we have now compared to the traditional model? Technology has progressed a lot. The next thing is business ecosystem. We will be working together with a lot of organizations. That is the meaning of ecosystem. Like that, lean startup, agile organization, startups, intrapreneurship, new business models, response to those new business models. Like that, we have a lot of concepts. First, we can move to the digital technology concept. Now when you're seeing digital technology, the first thing is Internet of Things. Internet of Things, as we already know, you might have seen Amazon, Alexa, like that. Those are the Internet of Things. Those are components of Internet of Things. Those are smart devices which can be connected together in an ecosystem. In a house, you can connect all the smart devices: smart TV, smart air purifier, smart vacuum cleaner, like that. Everything, they have the word smart before its name. So those are the things which are the components of Internet of Things. They will be used to making our performance better in production environment. Why we are doing that? We want to achieve increased efficiency. We want to do flexible manufacturing as per the customer demand. We want to do innovation. For that, we are integrating technology and using the Internet of Things. Why? How we will be doing it? By connecting the Internet of Things, we will be having a lot of data. It will be collecting a lot of data, and then we can do analysis. We can also use the data for making decisions. This will be the usage of Internet of Things, digital technology. The next thing is robotics. Robotics are robots. We can define it as tools that can sense input. What input we are giving, that it can understand. It will apply the rules and then it will react physically. It will give reaction. You can use robots for both analytical tasks and then repetitive tasks. It will free up human labor for high level tasks. Basic tasks will be handled by robots. Next thing is, it will be useful in this industry: healthcare, agriculture, military, manufacturing. These are the application. Now it will increase the efficiency and cut the cost. Now that we already know, in all the digital technology, it will increase the efficiency. It will help in reducing the cost. It will help humans in complex, tedious, and repetitive tasks. In those tasks, we will take the help of robotics. And then robots can be reprogrammed for different tasks. We can reprogram it and get different work done from the same robot. Safety. Robots detect and avoid humans. When they are working, if they see a human in between, they will not interrupt it. They will stop and go after the humans. So it will detect the humans and avoid the humans when working, so that we will not have any safety hazard. The next technology is artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence like ChatGPT, it will react to data. We should be giving a lot of data as input to the ChatGPT or AI. It will react to the data same like humans. How we react to data, in the same way AI also will react to the data. It will use a lot of data and analytics and all to perform the work. Example, usage of generative AI for defining as per the specification. For creating a product as per the specification of the customer, we can use generative AI. By doing this, we can save the engineering hours. If this is not for AI, we should be doing that by employing engineers. It is worth of doing hours of engineering work. So we are saving that engineering hours. 56% of companies have adopted AI. In the 2021 McKinsey report, we have got the result that 56% of companies are adopting AI. Now the next technology is automation. Automation meaning that the work will be performed on its own. We need not do anything. This will involve minimum human input. We have 4 types of automation: basic automation, process automation, integration automation, and then AI automation. The first thing is basic automation. Simple tasks will be automated here. Here we have 2 types. One is business process management and then robotic process automation. That's all they have given about this, and then we need not dive that much into detail. Since this is a technology part, they will have some keywords and all. We need not go that deep into that keywords. I will go into the concepts whenever it is necessary. Otherwise, just a plain understanding of the concepts is enough. Now, when you're seeing process automation, we have to automate the process. Business process should be automated. We should maintain the consistency and transparency of the process. When you are automating it, it will be transparent. We can see everything. Consistency will be there. It will be working consistently, constantly, every day. And then software and app. We can use software and app for doing this. This will include workflow automation, process mining. We will be doing 2 types of activities under this too: workflow automation and process mining. That's all. The next thing is integration automation, meaning that machines doing tasks based on fixed rules. We will integrate the machines into our normal process. They will do the work based on the fixed rules. Then when you are coming to AI automation, it is a complex level of automation, very high level of automation. Machine will take decision on itself based on previous data analytics. We will give the data to it. It will analyze the data and it will take the decision on its own. As we find AI, it will react to data similar to humans. So it will use the data and make the decisions. That's all about the automation. Basic process integration and AI automation. The next thing is cloud. Cloud meaning that cloud computing. These 2 points you will understand only when you understand the basic structure of software or services and all. Now, when you are seeing about cloud computing services, we have 3 things here: SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS. Meaning that software as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service. How we are doing this is that we need to understand how a software or a website is working. First thing is, for creating, for example, you want to make an e-commerce website similar to Amazon website. So what you will do, you will require computer resources like RAM, ROM, CPU, GPU. Everything is required. Like temporary memory, internal storage, everything will be required for operating that particular e-commerce website. Now you need to get the computer resources. You have 2 options: either you can purchase it by yourself and keep it in your server room, or you can use it from the cloud. The cloud option is the one we are discussing here. And then we have to select the amount of resources that we want. RAM means how much RAM we want, 16 GB. How much internal storage we want, 512 GB. How much CPU we want, 4 core CPU we want 16 CPUs. Like that, you have to create the specification. You have to select the resources. That will be coming under provisioning. These 2 things you will be doing even you are in a cloud environment or you are doing it in a physical environment. If you are going to the store to purchase it also, you will purchase the computer resources with different specification. When you are doing cloud also, where you will select the resources in the specification. You will be selecting the resources that you require in the cloud. So what is happening is that you need not purchase it in the offline stores. You can use it through the cloud itself. You need not purchase it and maintain a server room and all. Big companies like Microsoft, Google, Amazon and all, they will have cloud computing services. They will have the service physically in their location. They will maintain it. Everything will be done by them. You have to take the services on rent. Like you are hiring the service of RAM, ROM, 4-core CPU, like that. You are hiring the services. Like that, you have to select the resources which you are requiring in the cloud. Then what you have to do? Either you have it in your home, in your server room, or you have it in the online, in the virtual manner. You are using the server of Amazon. Now what you have to do is that you have to do configuration, meaning that you have to install Python, MySQL, setting firewall rules. These are the steps which you have to do, and then after that only you can deploy the code, software code that you have written. That after that only you can use it. Before that you have to select the resources. After that you have to install the required software for code deployment modules and all. After that you have to employ the code. After that putting the code, you will get the entire software. When you combine all this, you will get the software. Like for example, Amazon Web Services. That is the company which is giving the cloud computing services. For creating an e-commerce website, all these things will be required. Computer resources, provisioning, configuration code, everything will be required. On a combined basis only, you will get the e-commerce website. Now, when you take all this, it will be a software or a website. It will come in a together manner. When you use this all together, you will get the final product, software or website. Now, when you are taking only the computer resources, what will happen? It will be called as computer infrastructure. This computer resources, you can call it as computer infrastructure. So, it will be coming under infrastructure as a service. You are renting only infrastructure. You are taking infrastructure. After that, you are doing everything. So, that will be coming under infrastructure as a service. But when you are taking the services of the company, will give you both computer resources, provisioning, and then configuration. Everything will be given by the company. So, at this point, it will be called as platform as a service. So when you take computer resources and provisioning configuration, all the things will be performed by the company. You have to input only the code. That will be called as platform as a service. Now when you see a practical example, for example, you want to build an e-commerce website. You want to hire only the computer resources. You want RAM, ROM, CPU, GPU, everything except the computer resources. Everything will be done by you. So you will go to the Amazon Web Services, the cloud computing company. They will give you the resources. You have to select what are the resources you want. After selecting, you have to install the required modules in that. After that, you have to input the code. After that, you will get the software. Only the infrastructure will be given by the company in the infrastructure as a service. And then when you come to platform as a service, you will get they will have plans like a tier A, tier B, tier C, like that. They will have plans. In that plans, they will have a predefined set of resources. For example, this will be given in tier 1. If you want more, you will be going to tier 2, tier 3, like that. They will increase the resources. And this installing the modules also, relevant modules will be pre-installed. You don't need to do anything. When you get platform as a service, entire platform will be there for you. This entire step, you can skip it. This will be done by the company. You have to input only the code. After that, after code deployment, you will get the software. So when you are hiring everything, code also you need not write, configuration also you need not do, computer resource also will be provided by the cloud company. So when you take it as entire software, it will be coming under software as a service. For example, when you are purchasing that kind of software, you can directly give it to the users. Small consumers who are using the e-commerce website, they can directly use it because the entire software or website is available. Code, computer resource, everything is already done by the company. So that is the meaning of cloud computing services. Software as a service, platform, infrastructure as a service. So here if you are seeing, you are delivering computer infrastructure and software services over a network. The meaning is that you need not keep the servers at your workplace. You can use the servers which are belonging to the Amazon Web Services cloud computing company. You can use it in a virtual manner. You can connect to it virtually and then use those computer resources. You need not purchase it and keep it in your server room. You can do this over a network. Infrastructure, that is the computer resources, and software, you can get it through a network. It will bring you flexibility. If you want, you can pay the charges and buy it. If you don't want, you can stop paying the charges and then you will not get the access to it. And then agility, you can quickly adapt to the customers. It will be scalable. You can quickly, if you want, if more customers are using the website, you can quickly increase the computer resources. You can hire more computer resources and then you can increase the capability of the website to handle the people. So this is the meaning of cloud computing. Here they have given when you are migrating an application to the cloud. Currently you have server room physically, but when you are adopting the cloud, you have 6 types of strategies to do it: retire, retain, rehost, repurchase, replatform, re-architect. Like that, when you are migrating, you can either retire the old system or fully adopt the new system. Re-architect means you have to do it, build it everything from scratch using cloud. So this and all the different strategy to adopt to the cloud. We don't know that much about each of these terms, so they have also not given that much about this. So just a basic understanding is enough. This type of strategies you have. So for each of the strategy, this is the effort you have to put, and then this is the opportunity that you can get to optimize. That they have given just a small concept inside they have given that I have given here. Now the next thing is autonomous vehicles. Vehicles that can operate without a human operator. This they will be using in production, military and all. Automatic vehicles. The next thing is 3D printing. 3D printing means additive manufacturing and extrusion. These are the two names of the technical process that they are using to manufacture the products using 3D printing. Like if you see 3D printers and all, you can search in YouTube itself 3D printing. If you search itself, you will get tons of videos. You can see how they are printing the materials using 3D. They will have a filament. It will be like a thin thread. It will be doing one layer at a time. It will be doing one layer at a time, and then after 2 or 3 hours, you will get the finished product. It will be a 3D product which you can use it normally. It will be similar to any other product which are manufactured, but this will be using the filament. They have given some technical names and all for 3D printing commonly used techniques. You can read that. So that's all about the 3D printing concept. They have given a lot of technical words in this chapter. So we need not see what is fused deposition modeling, what is fused filament fabrication. This and all will go into a very much technical manner. So I'm not doing that. I'm skipping it. When you are coming to the next concept, digital twin, what will happen is that we will virtually replicate a physical finished goods or product, and then a copy will be saved in the computer or network. Now what will happen? For example, when you take Tesla car, a virtual Tesla car will be there in the computer. It will be connected through Wi-Fi and internet technology and all. Your physical car and then the virtual car in the computer both will be connected. Whenever the battery is being used in the Tesla car, actual finished goods, actual physical product, it will get updated in the virtual car. So you can check out the virtual car frequently to see how much battery you have, how much time which is remaining to do maintenance, how much will be the chance probability of breakdown, what is the probability, what is the condition of the engine and all. Like that you can monitor it through the virtual car. So you will be using virtual reality and augmented reality to do this. In the computer screen, you will be seeing a virtual car. It will be created using the technology. It will be made in the computer. It will analyze the situation of the physical car in real time. It will show the situation of the parts and components, like how much of the probability for breakdown, what is the battery remaining, how much time you have remaining before doing maintenance. You will have more information available for analysis. This is you when you are using it in a normal thing itself, normal consumer goods itself, you will have this much information. But when you are using it in a production facility or a factory, you will have a lot of information, abundant data you can acquire. Using those data, you can create various insights and you can get better decisions. This will be used across the value chain in engineering, operations, maintenance, service. In all these departments, they will be using this technology. Next thing is augmented reality. This is the thing we can tell as Internet of Things for humans. It will connect the physical surroundings and then the cloud and analytics power. For example, in Amazon and all, when you are buying a product, there will be an option you can see in that website. It will be showing view in your room. If you touch that option, it will show that product. It will project that product, how it will be appearing when it is kept in your room. It will open the camera and then like this, if you see, this is the table. For example, you are going to purchase in Amazon. It will show you how it will be looking when you are having that, when you purchase it and keep it in your house. How it will be looking. That will be projected using augmented reality. This thing they are using AR, meaning augmented reality. So that is the concept of augmented reality. You will be able to see the physical real-time things will be there, and then virtual product will be projected there. You can use it for training to employees. You can give realistic training to employees. It will improve the efficiency of the employees. It will bring a next generation human-machine interaction. You will be interacting with the machine even better. It is also giving knowledge transfer. The next point is mobile internet. Mobile internet, we all know about it. It will be helping for the connectivity of smart devices, computers, mobiles, and all. We have various opportunities in manufacturing and industrial companies for using this. Manufacturing CEOs, 81% of them consider mobiles as an important factor in the market today. Applications, you can use it for augmented reality. This augmented reality also, he is using it using a mobile phone only. So mobile internet is useful for that. Without internet, without mobile, you cannot do that. And computer assisted designing. You can do designing, which is done by engineers traditionally, using the mobile internet concept. And then you can also see ripple effects in the entire manufacturing industry. When using this, a lot of value chain activities will be affected. It will be evolving. You can see that effect. The next thing is blockchain. When you are coming to blockchain, you all should have heard somewhere about blockchain. At least the name should be known by you. You will be somewhere hearing this every day. And then what is the meaning here is that you can consider it as a digital ledger. Digital ledger meaning that if you are in blockchain, you will have a ledger. If another person in blockchain, he will also have a ledger. Each participant, each member will have a ledger. In that ledger, you can view the transactions which you are doing. For example, you are sending a payment to your friend, you can see that payment through the ledger. How that transaction is recorded, that is recorded in blocks. So that is why it is called as blockchain. It is recorded in blocks, and those blocks are connected. You can just have a basic understanding. They will when you see this kind of question in exam also, you can see the keywords. You can see the keyword of digital ledger, or you can see the keyword of decentralized database. It will be secured by digital signature. When you see these kind of keywords in the question, you can easily identify that it is a question related to the blockchain concept. There will be a lot of blocks, and inside this block only the transaction will be recorded using a cryptographic signature. In ledger we'll be doing posting. In journal we'll be doing journal entry like that. In blockchain we'll be doing a cryptographic signature and then entering the transaction. That will be called as hash. This is a very important word. They may ask question related to this. It will be recorded using hash. And then this is a very decentralized database, meaning that each of the participants will have a copy of the ledger in their computer. So it is difficult to modify, delete, manipulate the data. It is very securely maintained by a digital signature. It may be your biometrics or a password. There will be a digital signature which will be acting as a password. Transaction will be recorded in blocks. Blocks are connected as a chain. It will be recording the transactions. Then we already saw. When you are getting a new transaction, it will automatically be showing in your ledger. And then in the back end, it will be recorded in the block. So that's all about the concept of blockchain. To summarize, you can see that it's a digital ledger. Hash is an important word. This is the technology we are using. Cryptographic signature to record the transactions inside the block. Each participant will have a ledger. It's a decentralized database. It will be secured by digital signature. Now that's all about the technologies used in this chapter for explaining digital technologies to us. Now the next point is business ecosystem. What is the meaning of ecosystem? Normally in biology only we will be using this word business ecosystem and all. Business ecosystem they will be using in biological studies. Now in this person James Moore in 1983 he used the word ecosystem to indicate business. He is saying that business is a member of business ecosystem. Like that, he is saying group of organizations that is called as an ecosystem. In that, our organization is a single member of that particular group. Group is an ecosystem. So that is what he is saying. That group of organization, it will be in a network form of organization. They will all be in a network. The business, they can create more value to the customer as a group when compared to individual one. Instead of individually fighting between them or individually trying to gain profits, if they work together, they can gain more profits and attract more customer and provide more value to the customer. That is what they are saying. Unity is strength. That is the core principle they are saying here. Three types of ecosystem we have here. One is innovation ecosystem, another is platform ecosystem, third thing is service ecosystem. Here we need to understand that we are working together. We have to cooperate and we should not compete with each other. We should be working together. What is the end goal? That is the difference here between the types of ecosystem. If the end goal is to create something innovative, we have to do an innovation and transform the industry. Then it will be coming under innovation ecosystem. The goal for which we are working together. If you are working together to create complementary products around a single product, there will be a main product. You are working together to create different products around a single product, which will attract the customer and bring more market share. That is platform ecosystem. When you are working together to make optimization, exchanging service or value between the businesses. For example, a group of organizations they are working together to enhance the logistics support. Logistics support meaning that the inbound logistics, the movement of raw material should be optimized. It should be quick. We will be getting the raw material in a very prompt manner. Whenever we require, we will be getting the raw material. For that, we have to work together and cooperate. For that purpose, if you are doing, it will be service ecosystem. The same logistics we can apply it for output also. For finished goods supplying also, we can keep the same logistics about example. Now, for an ecosystem, we want to answer 8 descriptive questions. Should we engage in a business ecosystem? Should we do it? Whether it is important for us? How it is helpful for us? How can we identify viable ecosystem opportunity? What is the opportunity for working together? There should be opportunity. Only then everyone will come there. What is the role of our organization? In an ecosystem, there will be a lot of organization. What is the role of our organization? How to build our own ecosystem? How to build an ecosystem under our leadership? How can we win against competing ecosystem? We are thinking about building an ecosystem. Like with the competitors also, they will be building an ecosystem for themselves. How we can win against their ecosystem? How to capture value in our ecosystem? How can we capture the features that will provide value to the customer? How can we benefit as an ecosystem contributor? What you will be giving to the ecosystem and what the ecosystem will be giving back to you? How can our ecosystem strategy evolve over time? How we will change it over time as per the consumer demand, preference, nature and all. So these are the 8 descriptive questions that we have to answer that I have just given. Now the next thing is, for example, for ecosystem we can take that consortium of pharmaceutical companies for researching the vaccine for COVID-19 pandemic. During the COVID 2019 pandemic, a lot of pharmaceutical companies, they came together and they did research together. If they were doing research separately, each of them will have a patent to the drug which is manufactured by them, which is created by them. But if they do it together, what will happen? A single group of researchers enough for all the pharmaceutical companies. They can create their expertise in the team. By doing that, they can create the formula for the drug quickly. So this is the savings of research and development cost is the main thing which we are doing in this type of consortium of pharmaceutical companies. Now, what is the impact of ecosystem? We have 3 things here: cost, value, performance. What is the impact of ecosystem on these 3 things? First thing is cost flywheel, meaning that higher volume leading to lower fixed cost per unit. When they are working together, they can manufacture more. So fixed cost will be distributed over a large number of products. So the fixed cost per unit will be low. And then growth flywheel, they will get network and partnership and all. Because of that, they can grow together. And then they will improve the value proposition. They can provide better value to the customer. They will have more partner. They can communicate the value better. They can give more value. The next thing is data flywheel, meaning that advantage due to more richer data about customer. When each of the organizations are working together, each of them will have an information system. Everyone will be collecting data about the customer. When everyone are working together, they can pool that data. They can combine the data together and create more meaningful insights than organizations doing individually. That's all about the concept of ecosystem. Organizations working together for a specific goal. Now the next thing is change in business model. This thing we skipped earlier. Business model, there is a change happening due to technology. What is the change? What are the types of changes? We can classify it in a broader manner, like 3 categories we can keep it. First thing is automation, meaning that we are replacing humans with technology. Humans are eliminated and the technology is being replaced in that place. For example, passbook entry machine in a bank. If you keep the passbook in that machine, it will automatically do the entry work. You need not need a separate employee for that. Extension, for doing new task, you are adopting technology. Passbook entry is already existing task. When you are doing it for a new task, it will be called as extension. Example, mobile banking using software application. This is not replacing any existing task, but it is a new work. The next thing is transformation, reforming existing features or tasks using technology. Existing task itself you are not replacing, but you are transforming, you are reforming it, you are upgrading it. Meaning that, for example, you can take withdrawal of cash using ATM technology. This did not destroy the traditional cash withdrawal from banks. Instead, created a new way for doing it. It upgraded the existing work of withdrawing cash from banks. Nowadays, they are using ATM, advanced technology. So that's all about the change in business model. Now, when you go to the first page, the contents page, here we completed all the digital technologies. We completed business ecosystem. Now, the next concept we have is hyper competition. Hyper competition meaning that when you are, for example, when you take the word hyperactive, meaning that when you have hyperactive child, the meaning is that he will be very active. He will be there will be a lot of activity in him, and he will be very difficult to control. He will not sit in a particular place like that. He will have a lot of activity. Like that, when you are seeing hyper competition, there is a lot of competition. More number of people are there in the market. Here it will create an instability in the market. Since there are a large number of sellers, there will be a lot of options available in the market. So the customer can easily switch to one or the other supplier. So there will be high power of the buyers. If the buyers think they are not comfortable with the supplier, they can move to another one. There will be a lot of suppliers, which will be options available for the customers. So the higher bargaining power of buyers will be high. Here the quality will be compromised when you are trying to provide the cheaper price. When you want to try to provide the goods at a cheaper price when compared to all the other competitors, definitely quality will get compromised. Now the next thing is, what are the characteristics of hyper competitive market? There will be high rivalry. There will be a lot of people who are fighting. A quick strategic movement. Quickly the movement will happen. Rapid technology will be changing rapidly. Flexible strategy will be made. They will not stick to a particular strategy and hang on it. Next thing is low entry barrier. Each and everyone can come to the market. Only then we have that much people in the market. Global alliances. Since they are having a lot of competition in the local market, they will tie up with global companies and all. Buyer will have bargaining power, and then no competitive advantage. When you have a competitive advantage also, it will be quickly copied by the other people in the market. So it will be there with each and every company. So it will not be a separate competitive advantage for your particular company. The next thing is the impact of hyper competition on cost value performance and strategy. How it will impact the cost value and all. Competitive advantage. Other players will quickly imitate your competitive advantage. You cannot have anything unique. If you do anything unique by working very hard, the other people will easily imitate, easily copy it. When you are having hundreds of organizations in the market, at least one person will copy it. By seeing him, other persons also will copy your competitive advantage. So you have to discover new competitive advantage quickly. And then when you are having competitive advantage, before this one gets outdated, before the other competitors start to copy this, you have to again create another competitive advantage. Competitive advantage will not last long. It will be expiring quickly. You have to create another innovation before that first thing expires. Value. You should be having a unique selling proposition. When you are having a lot of options, why the customer should select your organization? For that, you should have a unique value proposition, unique selling proposition. Extra features you can keep it, but you will be changing it over time. When you are comparing with the competitor, you can tell to the customer that we have this much extra feature. By doing that, you can get more customer. Example: mobile phone manufacturing companies. They will be launching new models frequently. They will be launching new models. Because of that, when you are seeing, you will consider that this model has this much features. They are fighting with the features. Features is the only thing they are fighting through because we have a lot of companies. This is the most appropriate example because of perfect substitutability. If you don't want one company, you can use the phone of another company. They are perfectly substitutable. So it is very apt example for hyper competition. That's all about the value part of hyper competition. Now we are coming to market disruption. This will be caused by innovations. Innovation will cause the market disruption. When a company is doing something new, which is out of the box, nobody has thought of that idea till now. So it will be an innovation. It will create a market disruption. It will create very instability in the market. What are all the products which were given for a high price or it was priced in a premium manner is now available in a very cheap and affordable manner because of that innovation. So it will create an instability. You should do new innovation to stay relevant in the market. When everyone has to see you, you have to get the attention. For getting that attention, you have to do something new. That new thing, it will be called as innovation. That will create the market disruption. It will disrupt the market and attract the attention towards your company. Now, when you're coming to response to hyper competition, how to respond to the hyper competition, how we can tackle the hyper competition. For that, we have D. Aveni's 7S framework. They have given just the list of characters here: stakeholder satisfaction, strategic food chain, speed, surprise signals, shifting the rules of a new market, simultaneous and sequential graphs. Just they have given the list. They have also not elaborated about each and everything. So we need not go deep into that. Just give a plain reading of this, and then when you see these words, you can understand that the concept is inspired from this particular thing in the study material. Here, why we are doing this? This 7S framework will help us to create temporary advantages. As we already saw, we have to do new innovations frequently to stay relevant in the market. We will be using that to maintain an equilibrium, and we will keep a particular number of customers with us itself. Now that's all about the hyper competition concept. Now when you come to the contents page, what are the things remaining? Digital technology completed, business ecosystem completed, hyper competition completed. Now we have just a small part remaining, just this half part is remaining: transformation and disruption. When you are seeing transformation and disruption, the meaning is that you are creating a new innovation. Because of that, you are affecting the rest of the market. What is the impact on the market? That is what is the differentiating factor between transformation and disruption. This will happen through continuous improvement, evolution. Products will be evolving throughout a period of time due to continuous improvement. For example, earlier TV used to come in picture tubes. Then they started using LCD panels. Then they started to use the combination of LED plus LCD. Now we have reached the smart TV. This we are getting step-by-step development due to continuous improvement. Now, when you come to transformation, what is the meaning? Innovation will be shifting the basis of competition. You will be having an innovation. That is the most important thing here. That innovation will shift to the competition, adapting and upgrading to better serve the customer. You will create a new innovation, and then that will be a new technology. If the customer, if you have to give better value to the customer, other competitors also, they should adapt to the new technology. They should adapt and upgrade to the new innovation. It will not completely destroy the existing players. It will not completely destroy the existing market. For example, UPI payment. UPI payment is a very good innovation. It will shift to the basis of competition. We have to adapt to UPI to give more value to the customer, to help the customer, to make the customer more comfortable. We have to shift it to UPI. It did not completely destroy the ATM or normal cash withdrawal, but it created a new market. Everyone started to adapt to it slowly. So it still ATM withdrawal is happening, normal cash withdrawal is happening, but UPI is transforming the market. It is upgrading the market slowly. That's the meaning of transformation. We also have the existing things. It will be transforming to a new thing. That new thing will be the innovation. When you are coming to disruption, there will be a new entrant, new player in the market. He will have an innovative approach. That innovative approach will entirely overthrow the existing player. It will completely destroy the existing market. It will shift everyone to a new market. The existing market will be destroyed. It will introduce a radical shift and forces the existing players to update. Here in transformation, we can update slowly. Slowly we can move to the new technology. No problem. The existing market will be there only. But here the existing market will be destroyed. We have to compulsorily move to the new innovation. We have to compulsorily adopt the new innovation. We will be in disruption. The new entrant will be innovating in unexplored and unattractive segment. Meaning that these segments was not given that much attention earlier. But now this person has created a very new innovation which completely destroyed the existing market. It will transform complex and sophisticated product into cheap, affordable and accessible product. One thing which was very complex and sophisticated, which was used only by the rich, but nowadays due to innovation it can be used by even cheap, affordable people. Normal people, normal customers, they can use it. Only rich will be using it in the earlier days. But now everyone is using it. That kind of innovation will be called as disruption. The high-priced product will be turned into a cheap, affordable product for the customers. Example, OTT streaming platforms completely destroyed the DVD market. DVD market was a very big market. Everyone was watching movies only through that channel. But when you came to OTT streaming platforms, it's a new technology, innovation. Nobody has thought of it. It completely destroyed the DVD market. Nowadays, no one is playing DVD. Everyone compulsorily shifted to OTT platforms. So, smartphones completely outdated the keypad mobiles. Similar to that, this is also called as a disruption. So, that's all about the transformation and disruption. Now, in disruption, we have two types of disruption. One is low-end disruption and a new market disruption. This new entrant is bringing an innovative approach. How he is applying it in the market. How he is gaining the customer. That is the differentiating factor between these two. For that innovation, if he is keeping a very low price and then attracting the customer, he is keeping a very low price to attract the customer, then it will come under the low-end disruption. It will come under the low-end disruption. But when he is creating a new market for himself, he is not touching the existing market. He is creating new customers. he will be creating new customers. That is called as new market disruption. When you are coming to low end disruption, you will be keeping the price at a very low level. Cost to leadership also you can call it. It will be used by the new entrant to enter the market. He will claim the bottom segment of the existing market. In the existing market itself, for example, if you consider this as a market, this will be the high price, this will be the medium price, this will be the low price. The new entrant, along with his new innovation, he will capture the bottom segment of the market. Anyways, in this low price segment, the profits will not be that much. He will be using this portion to enter into the market. He will use low price strategy. The other companies who were serving in this segment, they will move to the high price and medium price market. They will leave the low price segment and then move to the other things. It is a lower profit making segment for the existing players, meaning incumbents. Incumbents, the word meaning is existing players. The existing players will move to the other segments. Example, online booksellers. They have given it in the study material. The next thing is new market disruption. The new entrant will create new customer. How he will create the new customer? He will expand the market to new customers who have never used the product before. This product was never used by some people. He will go to those people and sell the product to them. He will create a new market. For example, early computers were very challenging to operate and complex, but an innovation came, creating mini computers or personal computers. This was giving the computers to all the normal people. They were not using the computer earlier, but nowadays due to the affordable rates and then the accessibility, they are coming to using it. He has created a new market for the consumers, computers. That's all about disruptive innovation types. Now, what are the components of a disruptive innovation? In a disruptive innovation, we should have an enabling technology. We should have a technology which should be used to create a new product. And then the business model, it should be either any one of the two. It can be used for low-end customers, meaning that low-cost strategy can be followed, or new customers you can give it to them. This will be called as disruptive innovation. But when you are targeting other customers, you are not targeting low-cost customer. You are not creating new market. But here, what you are doing in the market itself, high price, medium price, low price. He is not using the low price. He is capturing the high price and medium price segment. He is touching the existing market, but taking over the high price and medium price segment. Here it will be called as a standard innovation. That's all about the disruptive or innovative business model. Now, when you're seeing a value network, this main computer example itself you see here, for doing this computer, will require a lot of spare parts or components. It will require a lot of services also. All the people in the value chain, the raw material supplier, producer, distributor, retailer, wholesaler, everyone should be in favor of the disruption. Only then it will be accepted across the value network, including raw material supplier. They should also adapt to the new thing. Only then it will be called as a disruptive innovation. These three things are the components of a disruptive innovation. That's all about the concept of transformation and disruptions. So we completed this everything completed. Now we are going to see the advanced manufacturing. Now the next topic is advanced technology. You will be using innovative and advanced technology for improving the manufacturing. Here the skills required are you should have a problem solving mindset, critical thinking, agile mindset, everything should be there. Agile mindset you will be seeing a separate concept called agile organization. Now when you are coming to the aim of advanced manufacturing, what is the end goal? You have to improve the output. You have to improve the value, quality of the product, responsiveness and flexibility. You have to respond quickly to the customer. You have to reduce the time to market, meaning that you have to quickly launch the product using advanced technology. You have to reduce the inventory. You should not hold a lot of inventory pile up and all. Remove the plant and machinery underutilization. You have to utilize the machinery to the maximum capacity. This is the entire computer integration, computer integrated manufacturing. This will be the stage when you are integrating the computer to the highest level. Product designing stage, this technology will be used. Manufacturing planning stage, this technology will be used. Now you'll be seeing the integration of technology. How much you are going to combine the technology into your business. We have 4 levels. First level, standalone. Standalone meaning that individual machines will be there. That individual machines will be automated. We need not have a person in between the machines. Individual machines. That particular machine will be doing all the work in an automated manner. For example, you can use robots or numerically controlled tools for this. Now, robots or numerically controlled tools meaning that numerically controlled tools are pre-programmed machines to perform certain operations repeatedly. They will do certain work repeatedly. That is the meaning of numeric controlled tools. That will be the standalone integration. Individual machines will be automated. Now, when you're coming to level 2 cells, this will be similar to the cellular manufacturing. You will have group of machines. They will be working together. You can use techniques like group technology, computer-assisted manufacturing, flexible manufacturing system, and all can be used. Group technology meaning that each and every spare parts which you are using, you will be assigning a separate code to the spare parts. Using that, you can give it to the machine for processing. And then part families assigned to cells. Similar spare parts will be grouped together, and then they will be allocated to the working cells. I'm going into this a little fast because I have already explained the concept of cellular manufacturing in a very detailed manner in the previous chapters. Now, when you're seeing level 3 linked island, we will be linking 2 cells. First, you have individual machines, level 1. Second is the working cell. In the third level, you will be combining the cells. The cells will be linked through computers, automated storage and retrieval mechanism. Between each and every cell, the transportation will be happening in an automated manner. You will be using just in time. You will be using MRP2, meaning that manufacturing resource planning too. It will be using computers and automation for planning manufacturing. You will be planning the manufacturing using man, material, and machinery. How much labor we want, how much raw material we want, everything will be decided by the computer. Now, when you are coming to full integration, this will be a fully automated production facility. This will be having a robust information network. It will be having connected computers, which will be gathering all the data in real time. It will also be called as computer integrated manufacturing, which we saw earlier. For each and every stage of the production, you will have different technologies which are working there. CAM means computer assisted manufacturing. JIT means just in time. TQM total quality management. FIM is flexible manufacturing system. CID computer assisted designing. GD means group technology. Like that, they will be using all the technologies here. So that is the combination of technology along with the actual production manufacturing. Now the next concept is lean startup. Now for startups, what is a traditional startup? What will they will be doing in a traditional startup? They will be creating a detailed business plan. They will be creating the business plan by investing a lot of resources. They will do meticulous planning. In that business plan, what will be there? For example, we can take that customer. What is the problem of the customer? How we are going to solve it? What is the taste and preference of the customer? What is the production plan? How much material, machinery, process, and all we want? Sales strategy. How you will sell it to the customer? Marketing. How much demand you are expecting? Minimum sales that will be achieved. Everything will be in the sales strategy. Like this, you will create a full-end business plan document, and then you will start manufacturing the product. After that, you will start to sell the product, and you will wait for the result. You will give it to the market, and then you will wait whether the customers are accepting it or not. Here, what are the drawbacks? Idea may or may not work. We do not have any certainty. You will have certain assumptions when creating this business plan. That assumption, whether it is real or not, that we don't know. And then uncertain results with high risk. Since you are investing a lot of resources, you are not going into the customer itself in any of this process. In the last stage only, you are selling it to the customer. Before that, you are not touching the customer. Everything is based on the assumption. It is a very uncertain environment. High risk will be there. But when you are seeing lean startup, what will happen? They will first find out the business model. What is the business we can do? How we can purchase raw material? What is the product we are going to do? What is the process we are going to use? Like that, they will create a business model. They will test it. They will experiment it, and then they will come to a conclusion whether it is working or not, whether we can earn revenue by this model or not. That they will be finding out. After that, they will create assumptions. After coming to a conclusion about the business model, they will create detailed assumptions. Like these things we saw right. These things will be done based on the assumptions only normally. That assumption we will be creating here, and then based on that assumption, we will be creating a minimum viable product. If you have watched the Set D marathon of mine, I would have explained in detail about the minimum viable product. So, what is minimum viable product? It is a prototype, a working model of the idea which we are having in mind. That will be a working model which with just the main functionality. It will not have a lot of features and all, but it will be solving the purpose of the customer. So you will be first building it. After that, you will give it to some customers. You will be getting the feedback. You will be getting the feedback, and then you will improve based on the feedback. This is called one iteration. When you do this continuously, it will be the process of continuous improvement. This is nothing but Kaizen, which we saw already. So we have to get this loop of feedback. Now, after that, you will decide that whether the idea is working or not. If the idea does not work, you have to plan and start again from the scratch. Again, all the steps you have to do. So that is the formula for lean startup. Here we have counted all the drawbacks. We are already testing everything in the real world. You are giving it to the real customers and testing it. So there is no result of uncertain and all. Even if the assumptions do not work, we will know it in the stage number 4. So we have solved all the problems of traditional startup. So this is the meaning of lean startup. Advantage is that since you are creating a minimum viable product only, you are not starting large scale manufacturing now itself. So low resource requirement is enough. Problem solution fit you can find out when you are testing it with the customer. There is high probability of success. It will meet the expectation of the market. Since you are doing it as per the customer oriented method, you will be using technology and all. Lean startup will be using technology. Real world, you will be testing these assumptions. Now here the cycle is build, measure, and learn. You will be building the product, measuring the performance of the product, learning from the output of that product. Also, you will also use 5 whys to study and solve the problems. These 5 whys they have not given what are the 5 whys. So that much of the detail given in the study material itself. That's all about the lean startup concept. Now the next topic which we are going to see is agile organizations. Agile organizations is a new type of organizations. In this type of organizations, there will not be traditional hierarchical teams and traditional hierarchical departments and all. There will not be that much bureaucracy and all. First, we need to understand what is a traditional organization. Only then we can find out what are the differences between these two. When you are seeing a traditional organization, there will be hierarchical structure. Meaning of hierarchical structure is that here you can see the organization pyramid, the chain of command you can see. This is the top management. These two will be coming under the top management. They will be giving the instructions to the rest of the company. This is the bureaucracy, the middle level management system, which will be giving instruction to the lower level employees. These are the lower level employees. They have only one work, following the detailed instructions. They cannot give any inputs to the management. If they find any problem also, they cannot give any improvements or strategy suggestion to the upper level management above them. So this will be a very rigid manner. There will not be any two-way communication. Only the instruction will flow in a downward manner. That's all will be the only communication here. Strict chain of command. The instruction should be followed strictly. You cannot go away from the instruction. You cannot depart from the instruction. That is the meaning of traditional organization. Here there will not be any employee development and all. This employee will know only to follow the instruction. He will not know how to improve the existing process. He will not know how to do the things. He will know just the work assigned to him. Over the period of time, this work will become boring. This is one disadvantage of the traditional organization. And then there will not be any communication between these two teams. All the departments, this will be separate departments. Silos they are saying. Silos meaning departments. Each department will be working separately based on their own instructions. But they will not be communicating with each other. So there will be no collaboration. Collaboration meaning one team will be communicating with other. They will be coordinating, and in a cooperated manner they will achieve the result. That will not be there in a traditional organization. But when you are coming to agile organizations, this will be in a spherical manner, meaning that it will be a circular organization where we will have a lot of teams. Teams will be there, which will contain experts. There will be experts and well-trained people in their teams. They will know about their role in the organizations. They will know what the entire organization is doing, what is their role in the organizations, how they can improve the role and provide value to the organizations, and then how they have to handle the customer. Everything the employees will know. They will be called as empowered teams. There will be empowered teams, network of expert teams. So here, if you can see in the diagram, each and everything is a team. They will be working together. We will have a common leadership. Everyone will be reporting to the leadership, and then they will be working together also. Each teams also, they will communicate between each other. If they are communicating with each other, they can create new plans and respond to the customers more quickly. If there's a change in the market, you have to respond to it. In a traditional organizations, that change has to be first noticed by the top management. After that, it has to be passed on by the form of instructions in the traditional organization. But here, everyone will collaborate. They will communicate with each other, and on that communication itself, they can easily identify the trend in the market, change in the market trend, and everyone will know and act as per it. Adaptability will be very easy here. Accountability, transparency, collaboration will be there. Consider it as a living organism. This we can consider it as a living organism. This entire thing will be working as per the customer. Here they will be giving more importance to the customer. Now, fast, adjustable, and adaptive. You can reconfigure the teams. You can take more number of people in a team. For example, here this is marketing. We don't want that much people in marketing currently. We want in designing. You can take extra people there. Like that, you can reconfigure the team also. You can adjust the teams. You can respond quickly to the external environment changes. That is the meaning of agile organization. What are the characteristics of agile organization? There will be no traditional command structure. There will be teams which will be doing open communication and active collaboration. They will be working together, communicating with transparency, customer-centric approach, shared goal and vision. Everyone will know what is the goal of the organization. Overall purpose and role of the employees will be known. Inputs will be given by the employees. The teams, when they are communicating with each other, they will understand and think about how to improve the process, how to create value to the organization. They will communicate with each other. In a traditional organization, only one-way communication will be there. Detailed instructions only will be there. Employee will be developing over time. They will be developing the efficiency of the organization. Everyone will have a growth mindset. That's all about the agile organization. Now the next topic is startups versus incumbents. Startups means the newly created entrepreneurial venture which will be having innovation, technology, adaptability, customer-oriented mindset. Everything will be there in startup. But when you are seeing incumbent, they are a large organization started many years ago. They will be having established customer. They will be having established a strong distribution network. They will be advertising through the traditional marketing channel only. They will be advertising using print media and television media only. They will not be thinking that much of a risk-taking mindset and all. They will think to maintain the existing customer, maintain the existing thing. They will not have that much of a growth mindset. But startup, they are the newly started ventures. There will be young people who are heading the startup. So they will be thinking about risk-taking mindset. They will bring on new ventures, new projects, and then they will try and do it. So after doing it, they will gain a lot of reputation. They will be having a very high growth mindset. Startups using innovation, technology, and entrepreneurial venture. They will capture the spotlight. Example, Netflix, Uber. They are the startups who did things differently, and then they capture the spotlight. Features, flexibility will be there, speed will be there. Now, this will be in the form of an agile organization you can think of. They will be working together. There will not be any traditional organization set up and all. There will be a small group of people who are working together. They will be young and they will be dynamic. They can change to respond to the environment very easily. Agility, adaptability. Agility also is a feature. Agility means all those characteristics which we saw earlier. Here, all these things will be there in the startup. And this will not be there in the traditional organization or incumbents. Now, lean mindset will be there. Lean mindset, we already saw in the previous chapters that what is the meaning of lean. Lean meaning that we have to eliminate the waste. Waste means extra inventory pile up, waiting time, downtime, the idleness of labor, everything will be reduced, the elimination of waste. And in stages of a startup, for startup we have 3 stages. First thing is pre-startup stage. In this stage, we will have only the idea. We will understand what is the problem of the consumer, what is the gap that is there in the market. We will create a solution for that, and then we will see who will be the customer who will be buying our new product. That we will see. We will have the idea. Second stage is startup stage. In this stage, we will have the commitment. Commitment means we will be turning the idea into the minimum viable product, and then we will be giving the feedback loop that we saw earlier. Customer will be giving it to customer, he will experience it, giving feedback, we have to improve it. That iteration we will be doing. That is the meaning of customer iteration. And then the next stage is scale up stage, meaning that we have established a small customer base. After that, we have the potential to grow. We will expand and we will create branches or departments. We will create our branches all over the city or all over the nation. We will scale up, we will expand. That is the meaning of scale up stage. So these 3 are the stages of startups. Now when you are coming to incumbents, they are the permanent organization in the market. They will have an established market. They have started years ago. They will have loyal customers. They will have a range of existing products. They will already have a lot of product lines. They will have a lot of employees. They may have thousands of employees, and then billions in revenue may be coming. And that it will be in form of a traditional structure, which we saw earlier. The traditional structure will be very established and mature. They cannot change it. This has been being followed from years ago. Now, the main difference between these two is that incumbents will be adopting, incumbents will also be thinking about technology, but they will think about technology which will require a lot of investment, lot of capital investment. They will study those technology in a very wide manner, very deep manner. After that only they will invest in it. In startup, they will create innovation, a new idea, supported by tech behemoths, big tech companies. They will give the funding for startups, or angel investor will be there. They will be doing innovation. Incumbents, they will not do any innovation, but they will create technology. They will think about technology. Objective is to incumbent. They have a objective to bring a new technological change by exploiting it at the commercial level. They want to earn money, earn revenue by changing the technology into a consumer product. In startup, they have to create the change through disruptive innovation. They will be the ones who are starting the innovation, and then they will be the ones who will be giving the message throughout the market that there is a new technology, and slowly they have to adapt to it. All the competitors. Now, incumbents strive for taking new technologies to profitable levels. Incumbents, they will find a new technology, they will try to make it profitable. Startups, they will bring innovation. Innovation is only associated with startup. They will have the potential to cause the disruption. They will be creating a new innovation in the market which will overthrow the existing players. Now, they have given a long thing of differentiation between startup and incumbent. The thing which we saw earlier, which I said in the when explaining the concept itself, that thing only it is given in the form of a long differentiation. Like if you see here, there will be advertisement through digital media and startup. Communication using traditional media, print and newspaper. That will be using that will be done in the incumbents. Like that, same thing only. You can read it by yourself. Give a plain reading. That's all. You have to understand the concept of a startup and incumbent in an overall manner. The next concept of intrapreneurship. You might have heard about entrepreneurship. That we already know. That is the form of a business venture. There will be new people who will be doing innovation. Their innovation and risk taking are the main features of entrepreneurship. And in entrepreneurship, all the things we have, all the qualities will be inside a person. That person will be already working as an employee in an organization. That is called as entrepreneurship. What are the qualities of entrepreneurship? If you can see, innovation is one quality. They have to think out of the box and they have to create solution for the problem of the customer. They should be customer oriented. They have to have new ideas in the business. They should be very tech savvy. They should be bringing new technologies for the existing field, new uses for the existing technology. They should be risk taking. all these things are the qualities of an entrepreneur, but they are within a person who is already working inside the organization. They have an entrepreneurial mindset. Why we are doing this entrepreneurship? So that we can counter the stagnation in growth. After a particular level, the organization stops growing. Why? Because the minds who started the organization, they have become exhausted, or they are trying to mature. They are maturing and they are trying to maintain the status. They have lost the innovative mindset, or they are thinking that this much growth is enough. Like that, the head of the organization will be thinking, or else even though they have an innovative mindset, they have a lot of work to manage. The existing scale of the organization itself is so big that they do not have time to think about new innovations. So at that time, we need employees in the company who are thinking with entrepreneurial mindset. These qualities, they should be inside people who are working in the organization. They should give those ideas to the top management. They will analyze those ideas and then bring them into new products in the market. This is also called as organizational entrepreneurship. You have to remember that this person's individuals who have that entrepreneurial mindset inside the organizations, they will be called as intrapreneurs. Same way we call entrepreneurs, they will be called as intrapreneurs. They will not own the company. They are just the employees. They will not bring any additional investment at all. Just the idea and mindset will be brought in by those people. Now, next thing is innovation hubs and incubators. These things we already studied in FIT Paper 3 Marathon. If you have watched that, you will already know about the incubators and all. Incubators are the organizations which will help the startup to grow. When the startups are in a pre-startup stage, meaning that they only have the idea, these incubators will guide the startup founders to how to convert their idea into a very minimum viable product, how to sell that in the market, how to launch the product into the market. For those things, the guidance will be given by the incubators. They will have experts in the field. They will be helping them. This will give a suitable environment for the startups in the pre-startup stage. It will help the developing idea into a minimum viable product. This interval will be carried out by the incubators along with the startup founder. They will be working together. It is also called as school for startups. Like small children are going to school, like the startup founders are going to incubator to understand more about the market and how to launch the product. There will be a fixed payment for the service, or else they will take a equity stake in the company. The startup company, 10% will be taken by the incubator organization. Like that, there will be there. Next thing is supply chain partnership. Now we already know what is the supply chain. From raw material supplier till the end consumer, the chain of people who are trying to deliver the goods to the consumer. That is the meaning of supply chain. In this, each and every person is there. They will be called as a member of the supply chain. Here we have to create a strategic alliance or partnership with all the members of the supply chain. For example, there will be each and every company. There will be a company called ABC for raw material. There will be a company called Mexican Limited for distributor. Like that, we will have a lot of companies. We have to create tie-ups with the companies, and then we have to enjoy the gains by working together. This is similar to the business ecosystem, a network of organizations working together for a common goal. There will be mutual benefit for all the participants. When you are working together, what will happen? Normally, what will happen? Raw material supplier will try to push the price higher. He should achieve higher sales revenue. The producer will try to reduce the raw material purchase price. They will be fighting for discounts, and then distributor, wholesaler, everything will be happening in the same manner. They will not work in a synchronized manner. Everyone will be trying to make their own gains in the transaction. But when they are working together, what they will happen? They will just compromise on the discount. One person will give discount, or the producer will not care about the discount and all. They will do it everything in a coordinated manner. They will have an entire electronic interface and all, in that everyone can connect to it, and then they can share information. They can communicate. The producer can communicate easily using electronic means, that when the delivery should be happening, how much raw material we want, what is the type of raw material we want, what is the quality we want. And then when we are working together, the raw material supplier will try to give the highest quality material to the producer. And then by doing all this entire ecosystem, they will manufacture the best quality product. This will fetch a high price from the consumer. The consumer will be ready to pay a high price for this product. This will create a lot of profits. This profits, they can distribute it over all the members of the supply chain. That is the main idea. This is the mutual benefit that I was talking about. Here we have three types of supply chain. Three types, meaning that rapid supply chain is the first type, meaning that focusing on speed. Here the movement of goods between these people, the movement of raw material, movement of finished goods, movement of WIP, everything will be happening in a very fast manner. That speed of supplying is the main thing in the speed supply chain, rapid supply chain. When you are speaking about the second type, agile supply chain, this will be the supply chain where everyone will be working in an agile manner, meaning that all the characteristics of agile organization, responsiveness to customer, they will be working together, collaboration will be there, open communication will be there, everything will be there to adapt to the changes in the environment. That is the main goal of the agile supply chain. They will be using this in an environment where there are rapid technological changes, where the customer responsiveness is very important. How much time they are taking to respond to the environment, that is most important in some environments. In those environments, we will be using the agile supply chain. Lean supply chain, meaning that we have to eliminate all the waste. Now, these are the three types of supply chain. Supply chain partnerships. Now, what are the essential of supply chain partnership? Real-time data sharing. As I already said, there should be an electronic interface in which all these companies should log in, and then they will be able to share the information and communicate with each other in a transparent manner. Configurable workflows. They should be able to adapt it to the entire ecosystem. They should be working in a coordinated manner. They should configure each other and work properly together. AI and machine learning, they can use it to predict and analyze. When they are working together, they will have a lot of data. They can combine all the information that they have about the customer, and they can make new decisions properly. When you are having low data, you can make decisions with a little bit of accuracy. But when you have abundant data, each and every analysis that you are doing will give a lot of insights. You can know a lot about consumers, and then you can use psychology of consumer and all to create the products. This will be the meaning of prediction analysis. You are having a data, you can use that to create conclusion and take advantage of that. Data is the most important thing in today's market. Information is very important. In context messaging, they can message to each other quickly. End-to-end visibility. Each and every member of the supply chain can see the interface and see how it is happening. What is the thing going now? What is the status of transport of raw material? What is the status of stock lying with the retailer? Whether it is sold or not? Whether any stock is stagnant or not? Everything will be available in the visibility, which we can see it in the electronic interface. Technology, we can use electronic data interchange, RFID tags for transportation of raw material, electronic funds transfer for electronic purchasing, which we saw in the before chapter. We saw e-sourcing, e-payment, e-procurement, we saw point of sale terminals. This technology we can use it to realize, to bring into real life the supply chain partnership. This is the theoretical concept. We can use this technology and bring it to real life. What is the benefit of supply chain partnership? Agility. We can respond to the customer quickly. And then forecasting, capacity planning, reduce the bullwhip effect, single source of truth, strong relationship with partners. This and all normal benefits which you can achieve that you already understood by the concept. So that's all about the Concept of supply chain partnership. Now the next thing is emerging business model. In this we have new types of business model. Business model means the source of revenue will be not similar to the traditional channel. We will have a new source of revenue, new source of cost will be there, new source of customer will be there. Everything will be different. The economic logic will be different. Hyper disruptive business models, models relevant to sustainability, models for emerging national market. Hyper disruptive meaning that we already have a new innovation, and then using that innovation and technology we are creating a business model that will be disruptive, that will destroy the market, and then it will create a new market. Models relevant for sustainability meaning that you have to focus on the environment, social and economic factors, not only focus on profit, also focus on the environment. Models relevant to emerging national market is that now India is an emerging national market, meaning that we have a lot of consumers in India. They will be having a lot of purchasing potential, purchasing power they are having. Who is the company who should supply the products for all these 1.4 billion customers? That is the main focus here. Emerging national market. We have a lot of customers here. Who should be the one catering to all this customer? As per that, we are creating some business model. Now, first thing is hyper disruptive business model. In this, we have a lot of models. First thing is free model. Free model, what will happen is that in this, the product will be freely available for a large number of users. We can use the product for free. Now, premium product also will be there for the same company. It will be upgraded version of the same product which you are using it for free. It will be sold only to small subset of users. Small number of users who want the premium product with extra features, they will purchase it. Product will be of high value to the customer. Only then the customer will pay money for it. A large user base. Using that, you can have a large number of users. So you can show advertisement to the users in that platform. So you will also get payment from advertisers for particular companies. Now, first in this we have 4 types of models. First thing is advertisement model. Here the main source of revenue will be from the payment of advertisers. You will attract the user. You will show ads to them. It will be free for the user, but the revenue will be coming from the advertisers. They will be paying money. Example, YouTube, you can take it. Cross subsidization. Here one product will be given for free. Another complementary product will be sold with high margin. Will be sold indirectly. Example, razor blade business model. Why they are calling it razor blade business model is that in a razor blade market, for example, you can take the company Gillette. Here they are selling razor blades. In razor blades, we have 2 parts. One is the blade. Another thing is the razor set. These two things are the things required for razor blades. Here, this razor set, they are selling it for a low price only. This we can purchase it for a very low cost. But this blade, we have to change it frequently. We have to replace it frequently. But the price of razor blade will be a little bit higher. Little bit higher. You will be frequently purchasing the blade. So you will be indirectly, this higher price you are having, right? That price is because of the high profit margin. In this blade, you will have a high profit margin. The razor set will be purchased only once, but the razor blade will be purchased frequently by all the customers all over the world who are purchasing the Gillette razor blade. So you will get a high profit throughout the year by all the customers who are purchasing it. So razor set, main product sold for a low price, low margin. Blade which is changed frequently, that will be having high profit margin. So this is the meaning of cross subsidization. You are doing cross selling. You are making the customer purchase the razor. After that, you are selling the blade to him indirectly with a high profit margin. That is the meaning of cross subsidization. Next thing is open source. Here the product or service is for free. The seller will get other benefit or some other benefit as per his business model. There will be no customer acquisition cost. For example, Wikipedia you can take. It is an open source. Promotion. In promotion, you will purchase the product and then you will get low cost of product for free. For example, in supermarkets and all, if you purchase for 10,000 rupees or more, you will get a gift coupon or a gift for worth rupees 500 or like that. For that, you will try to purchase more products for 10,000 rupees threshold. So that will be the thing to raise the revenue in this model. The next thing is subscription model. The 4 models which we saw now, those are about the sub parts of the free model. Now the next thing we are going to see is another new model called subscription model. Here this is like the OTT platform subscription. Here the product or service, it will be available. It could have been accessed easily in the past, but now they are selling it on a subscription basis. You have to pay subscription, only then you will get access to the product or service. Example, newspapers, OTT platforms. Next thing is freemium model. Freemium model meaning that you will have a product, the basic features of the product. Along with the basic features, you can use it for free. But when you want to use the advanced features, you have to give a premium price. You have to make a fees, upgrade to the premium account. After that only you can use the advanced features. So this is the meaning of freemium model. Basic features will be for free. Advanced features for a premium. Now there will be low customer acquisition cost and long-term revenue will be there. There will be long-term revenue because many people will be using it and then they will be purchasing it day by day gradually. So you will have long-term revenue. For example, software as a service, we can take it as an example. Disruption using digital sampling is used here. A large number of people are given sample of the product using a free marketing tag. So people will be trying it and using it. When they like it, they will purchase it. They are using a sample of the product. After that, they are purchasing the product using money. The next thing is hypermarket model. The hypermarket model is the basic logic is that you are providing a product at a low cost. Because of that, you are getting the customer. The cost leadership strategy will be employed here. Example is that you can also do it in an online platform or you can do it in a normal physical sales platform. Brick and mortar means, for example, DMart is the example. Click in online model, Amazon is the example. When you are combining these two, Reliance retails will be coming. This is the hypermarket model, low price products, cost leadership strategy. Next thing is digital platform model, which is also called as e-commerce model. This is a digital marketplace where buyers and sellers can do transaction. Here the commission will be going as a percentage of buying price. Meaning that one person can purchase goods from another person through online platforms. B2B, B2C, C2C, C2B. You can do any of the models here. B means business, C means consumer. Business to business, consumer to consumer. You can do in any combination. But everything will happen through virtual online platforms. Next thing is access over ownership model. Meaning that you can rent the products or service which you have in excess. You can give access for a rent. But you will not get the ownership by paying the rent. For example, you can get temporary access of tools and all without ownership. If you want to borrow some tools, you can borrow it from the persons who want to share the products. These two people will be connected by the software or application in the model. Access over ownership model. For this thing, they will be paying a little bit of fees and all. They will not get ownership, but they will get the access to use the tool or service ecosystem model. In this access to ownership model, you can use the example of you can share or you can give a spare room for renting, you can give a spare vehicle for renting, you can give a spare printer for renting, or you can give a freelancing services. You will be giving freelancing services for a particular service charge. Now, the next thing is service ecosystem model. For in this ecosystem model, the consumer will have an ecosystem in this mindset. There will be a mindset which will be built by the companies together. One product will be the main product, and then different products will be built around the main product. What will happen is that when you use all the product together, when you have all the products, you can have an experience of an ecosystem. For example, Apple devices, when you have Apple iPhone, Apple laptop, Apple computer, everything, Apple AirPods, Apple keyboard, everything when you have a lot of advanced features which you can use for connectivity between the devices. You can easily share the files, you can easily open application in one phone, and then you can immediately stop it, and when you go to the laptop also, you can access the application from where you left. So that is an advanced feature which you are getting because of the ecosystem effect. This is the thing that they are doing. Different products of a company, they are functioning together as an ecosystem. So that is the main logic here. Next thing is experience model. Here the companies will be selling unique products in the form of an experience. For example, when you take airline travel, luxury travels and all, it will be there in the form of an experience. They will not only travel, they will give food, they will give water, they will give experience, they will give the luxury experience which the people expect. So it will be unique, stylish, it will be attractive to the customer. You have to continuously improve in this case. The other people will copy this eventually. So you have to continuously do something new to improve the experience. Only then you can be the market leader. Then next thing is on-demand model. For example, if you want instant access to product or service, you can pay an amount and get the access. For that, a premium price is charged. For this, we are using the digital technology. For example, if you want to go to if you want to book a ride, either you can go physically and contact the travels and you can book a ride, or else you can use the app-based ride booking. In this, you are immediately getting the access to the ride booking. For that, you are getting a premium price, extra price you are giving for the application. That is the on-demand model. The next thing is we have completed all the models for hyper-descriptive business models. So the next thing is models relevant to sustainability. As I already said, we have to focus on three factors: environmental, example, carbon footprint, everything should be low. Natural resources should not be depleted. Economic means profit also should not be compromised. Social means philanthropy, ethics, inclusiveness. You have to focus on people, planet, profit, people. You can also find the same concept in triple bottom line. For 5 elements for a sustainable business model. If it has to focus on the environment, 5 things should be there. Diversity should be there. It should be focusing on people. Modularity of functional operations. Openness to ideas outside the firm boundaries. Slack resources and capabilities and resources. Matching the cycle and rhythm in business and environment. These are the 5 elements that should be there for a sustainable business model. Just give a plain reading here. The next thing is approaches for developing a sustainable business model. What are the approach you have? First thing is product service system. Here the customer will pay only for the services and not for the product. This is similar to the model where we rent the product, we will not own it. That is the main logic here. Repair, maintenance, everything will be handled by the owner. The company is responsible for repair, maintenance and all. We will just use the services of the product. The next thing is open innovation. Open innovation meaning that a company will work with other organizations, individual, association of person, everything to do innovation, and they will try to commercialize the new ideas. For doing innovation, organization will connect with everyone. Now peer-to-peer innovation means for here also we are doing innovation only, but only individuals are working here. Individuals working together to do innovation. There will be no command structure or hierarchy and all. Everyone will be separate team and they will be working together. The next thing is closed loop production. Here, when you are doing production, a lot of waste will be generated. Waste water, like carbon emission, waste polluted air, that will be coming out of the production process. Now, in this production process, it should be in such a manner that all the waste which are manufactured, which are produced, it should be recycled within the process itself. That is the meaning of closed loop production. Next thing is crowdfunding. It is also called as crowd financing, crowd investing. We are raising money from a large number of people. That is the main thing here. Sharing economy. People sharing spare resources. As I already said, we can rent a spare room, we can rent a spare printer, we can provide freelancing services. We are sharing what that we have in excess. So that is the meaning of sharing economy. The next thing is social enterprises and benefit corporation. You have to focus on environment and people along with financial motive. For that sole purpose, we are creating a legal structure. We are creating a legal company-like structure for in the name of social enterprises and benefit corporations. They are legally obligated. Their legal work is to focus on triple bottom line. 3 things: people, planet, profit. The next thing is gift economy. Pay what you want. They will be getting the product or service, but the price which you have to pay, that is at the discretion of yours alone. You can pay the price that you think it is worth. Next thing is new manufacturing paradigm. Here we are using 3D printing and all to do manufacturing in a new age manner. It will increase the efficiency and it will create rapid prototyping. You can do that in iteration and all. Minimum viable product, you can give it to the feedback loop. You can continuously improve it. This is the advantage of new manufacturing paradigm. That's all about the sustainable business models. Now here they have given one thing, the business canvas model, which we saw in the first chapter, I think so, that they have linked it to the triple bottom line or the environmental sustainability model, and then they have created a chart here. This you can read once. I thought it was a little bit relevant. That's why I kept it here. The next thing is models for emerging national market. Like India, it is an emerging national market. For example, first they are giving the definition of the emerging national market. The term was coined in this year by this person. In 2009, this person gave the proper definition. The definition contained the word society transitioning from dictatorship to free market. The definition given by that person in that time is this word, meaning that rapid informationalization. Information will be spreading everywhere rapidly throughout the country. Industrialization. Slowly, industrialization will be starting. Slowly, not slowly, rapidly. It will be happening in a fast manner. Next thing is 2012. They were giving a practical definition. You can measure it with metrics, meaning that per capita income, how much should be the income of that emerging market? 10 to 75% of the European Union per capita income. When compared to the European Union income, this much should be the income. Medium income should be there. There should be brisk economic growth. growth. High economic growth should be there. Deeper integration with the global economy. You have to interconnect with the global economy. There should be interdependence with the global economies. Next thing is importance of emerging markets. Emerging markets, they have a lot of population, they have a lot of consumption also. It is a very big market where we can sell our products. Great marketing opportunity is there. You can customize the business model as per the emerging market. For example, in India, if you want to sell the product, you have to reduce the price of the product. Correspondingly, you have to reduce the cost also. You have to do great promotion and all. That and all, it should be customized as per the specific market which you are entering into. Here, two persons have given some characteristics of emerging market. What are the features of an emerging market? This you can give just a reading. Just they have given the keywords. Just you can give a plain reading. No need to remember this as it is and all. That's all about the new emerging national market models. Now we saw all the models: hyper-disruptive, sustainability, emerging national market. Now the next concept which we have here is strategic response to new business model. Just 2 pages we have. We can complete it quickly. Here, if you see, for new business models, digital technology, we saw the other model. We saw the models like creating ecosystem, hyper competition, transformation and disruption, everything we saw. How to tackle those models, that is what we are going to see here. For all these models, the main common thing is value proposition model. They are providing some kind of value to the customer. That value we have to capture and we have to provide to the customer in unique manner. Then the customer will not move away from us. Strategies for countering digital technology is that startups will do innovations and disruptions to claim their place in the market. The strategy, what our organizations do, we have to give a response. We are the incumbent in this situation. We should be focusing on digital technology. We should balance innovation, new things. The existing products also we have to manage. We cannot leave them in deal. Profitability also we have to earn. And then we have to do all this along with adopting technology. So all the things we have to balance. That is the work of the incumbents. We have to also consider the stage of the product life cycle. There we are in the maturity stage, introduction stage, growth stage. That also you have to consider. Example, Razorpay. They are an organization which adopted digital technology and came up. So the next strategy is value-based structure, value capture model. In a business ecosystem, we have a network of organizations. What we have to focus is, as an entire ecosystem, how we can do better. We should not focus on the individual capability. Individuality of the organization is not that much important. The thing important is how we can do the entire output better as an entire ecosystem. How we have to work coordinatedly in a together manner. That is the main thing. We have to focus on what our organization can do better. That is in the normal thing. But you have to focus on the entire ecosystem. How as an entire organizational structure, network of organization should be doing better. That is the main focus. The next thing is strategies to capture value. How we can capture the value? We have to make investment. We have to invest amount in the features that will be creating value for the customer. We have to make the best out of the customer, especially changing needs. What are the needs of the customer? We have to satisfy that. Changing needs also, we have to try to predict it and satisfy that. Be the locus of USP. In an ecosystem, as an entire ecosystem, they will be providing finished goods to the consumer. That finished goods will be bought by the consumer only for certain features. Only for the certain features, customer will be attracted and buying that product. That feature should be provided by your company. That is the main thing. Unique selling proposition. The unique feature in that product, because of which the customer is buying, that should be given by your company. So that they will not leave your company. They will not eliminate your company from the ecosystem at any time. Then be an indispensable integrator. Integration meaning that you are bring a focal point where the customers and the entire ecosystem is meeting. That point should be under your control. You should be the one who are connecting the customer and the entire ecosystem. If you are in that particular position, the ecosystem can never abandon you. You will always be there in the ecosystem because without you, they cannot reach the customer itself. For an ecosystem, the strategic aspect is that what are the advantages you should have? Flexibility and cooperation will be there. Enhanced accountability. Since you are working together, each person should take responsibility for particular features. Only then we can provide a particular product very efficiently. Information flow should be there. Shared economy will be there. We have to share the capability which we have. Since we are working together, we should not focus on individual gain. We should focus on the collective gains. Economics of scope. When you are working together, certain synergy benefits you can attain. That also should be an advantage. Short-term advantage in hyper competition. When you are countering hyper competition, the main thing is you have to do innovations quickly, frequently. From one innovation, you have to change to another quickly, because in the meantime, the other competitors will copy your innovation. You have to create temporary short-term competitive advantage. Only then you can retain the customer. You can show to the customer that this much value I am giving, this much extra feature I am giving. When the other competitors are copying it, again you have to bring some new features. That should be the main only way to tackle the competition here. When manufacturer will release new model frequently, in one model the nib will be very high technology, high level. The next thing, when the other competitors start copying the nib, he will improve the ink technology. In the meantime, he will also work on the body. He will work on the grip and nib of the pen again, and then temporarily he will bring new advantage. When comparing to the product at any time, some kind of advantage will be there in our organization. That is the main thing we have to focus on. If you do not innovate like this, you will become irrelevant in the market. Essentials. You have to spend on research and development for doing new innovation frequently. You should have knowledge and resource collaboration. You should work together with many people, and then you will have knowledge and resources for that. Lean startup should be there. You should be in a lean mindset. Innovation sharing, striving employees. You cannot do innovation frequently with the top management alone. You have to encourage all the employees also to do innovation. Now the next thing is strategic response to transformation and disruption. When you are having transformation and disruption in the market, meaning that we have an innovation in the market, we have to do a response. What is the response? That is what we have to determine here. We should respond either for survival, only then we can survive, or else we have to maintain the status quo. For maintaining the existing customer also, you have to respond. The main focus is you have to respond. That is a must. Next thing is, if you do not respond, you will lose your competitive advantage. You will move away from the market. You will become outdated. The next thing is strategies. What are the strategies which we can do to counter transformation and disruption? The first strategy is milking asset as a cash cow, meaning that you have to harvest it till the trend is available, till the trend is alive. Reap the benefits as long as it is available. If the existing market is destroyed and then they are moving to the new market, that's all. You cannot do anything. Till the market is alive, you can harvest the benefits from it. Till the time you have customer, you have to maintain the customer. That's all. When the market is completely destroyed, you can move to another product line or another market. Invest or counter invest. In the same technology, you have to make investment. You have to obtain the capability to do the same innovation. The same thing which the innovator is doing, you have to copy that. For that, you have to make investment. Blocking the path. When the new innovation is being launched into the market, you can make obstacles to stop the startup from launching the innovation. You can make obstacles from starting the innovation. For example, when we have an innovation called app-based taxi booking, all the taxi unions in the city or country or the state, they can work together and then they can prepare a resolution. They can make a resolution that each taxi driver of their union, they should not enroll into the app-based taxi. If they do that, they will not get that much taxi drivers to enroll into for the application. So app-based taxi innovation, you are stopping that temporarily. You are making obstacles in the path of launching the taxi app-based taxi application. So that is the example for blocking the path. Next thing is counter disruption. We have to do another disruption. In investor counter invest, we used to follow the same technology. In the counter disruption, we are using another innovation. For opposing that, we are creating another innovation. For why we are doing that of that, we can crush innovation only with innovation. We are doing it to crush the startup. Incumbent, the existing organization, you will have more resources. So you can do innovation more stronger, in a more stronger manner. Next thing is focus on core product line, meaning that we need not do aggressive counter attack also. We need not shut down the entire existing product line also. We should focus on our core product and do improvement in that. The next thing is withdrawal strategy. We have to exit or surrender from the market. We have to accept our defeat and we have to get out from the market. We have to sell the company, liquidate the assets and shut down the company. Now, these are the strategies which we can do for countering the transformation and disruption. What are the things which you have to keep in mind when creating a strategy? You have to see the availability of resources. If you want to make a new innovation and all, it will require a lot of resources. Whether you have funding like that and all, that you have to see here. Importance of the segment to the product line. The segment in which the innovation is happening, whether that is important to us or not. If it is just a minor segment, we can leave that out and we can focus on the remaining 90% of the product line that we have in our control. Whether we are good at that particular segment or not. In that particular segment, whether we are good at performing as per the customer or not, that we have to see. First mover advantage versus uncertainty. The startups are very risk taking. They will take a lot of risk and invest. They will have first mover advantage. If you want to do counter investment or you have to do another innovation, you will have a first mover advantage. When you are doing that innovation again, you will be the first one doing that, you will have an advantage. But that market is uncertain. That much amount you invested in that particular innovation, whether it will be worth it or not, that we don't know. So it is a very risky strategy. Next thing is commercial benefits. You have to see the thing whether if we do that innovation or we establish the strategy, if the strategy works, we will get profit or not. Now only if we get profit, we will establish the strategy. That's all the things which you have to consider when selecting a strategy. We saw all the concepts in this list. Digital technology, startup income, everything we saw. Now we can move to the questions. In this chapter, we have only 5 MCQs that we can solve very easily. Disruptive innovation. 2 types of disruptive innovation. One is the low cost innovation, which we can do by giving the products at a low price. The another thing is we will not touch the existing market. We will create a new market, meaning that the name is new market disruption. The thing we have to select from the option, low end disruption and new market disruption. The next question is, what they are asking is that what is the technological advancement for installing a passbook update kiosk at bank, meaning that passbook entry machine we are keeping it in the bank. This is an example of automation which we saw already. What are the types of business model, changes in business model? Now when you are having ATM, when you are installing ATM to withdraw cash, printing of mini statement of transaction and all, what is the category of technological advancement you are having? Transformation. This also we have given as an example in the change in business model also. In the particular type system we have given example. In that example we covered this. The next question is that what is the correct sequence out of given below? Now before seeing this, we have to see one thing. Here, if you can see, when we are seeing the startup versus incumbent, we skipped this particular box. So when you are seeing that, here they have given this as a concept insight in the study material. Just a box inside that they have given that some information and this thing. Here they have created a chart, meaning that Six Sigma we already saw in the previous chapter that it is a process aimed at zero defects. We should not produce any defective output. Agile meaning that we have to be responsive to the customer and the external environment. Lean startup meaning that we have to focus on the elimination of waste. Now, one more new thing they have given here: design thinking. Design thinking is it is the same thing as startups. What the startups will do? They will do iteration. They will create a minimum viable product, and then that minimum viable product they will give it to customers. They will experience it, and then they will give the feedback. After that, they will improve based on that feedback. This is the process followed by a startup. This is called as an iteration. This thing will be done in design thinking also. They will be trying to find out the problem of the customer. They will be solving that using a minimum viable product. They will be giving it to customers feedback, improve. That iteration process also will be done in design thinking. They will be testing the real world assumption. Everything will be done in design thinking also. So we have to find out the sequence here. That is what they are asking in that MCQ. Design thinking. You will first do the design thinking, and then you will create the lean startup. Startup without any waste. Agile mechanism will be employed there, and then you will focus on Six Sigma. Six Sigma will always come in the last, because only when you are manufacturing the output you can aim for zero defect. So that will be coming at last. Design thinking first you will be thinking, after that starting the startup, then you are keeping it agile. Last thing is Six Sigma. In the same manner, if you can remember the sequence, you can answer that question easily. Design thinking, lean startup, agile, Six Sigma. That sequence we are asking. Now the next thing is we have a company which is called Grammarly. It is an American cloud-based typing assistant. Here they are asking which of the following model they are using. What is the business model is that? They used to review the spelling mistake, grammar mistake, punctuation and all. The app will review and tell what are the mistake you have made in the paragraph or text and all. It is free for individual. It will give a basic features and all for individuals for free. But when you want to use it for business organization, or when you want more features like clarity, vocabulary, tone improvement, for these advanced features you have to pay money. For the normal spelling, grammar, punctuation, they will give it for a free itself. So they are following free plus premium model they are using. So that is not the option. So we have to click none of these. We have to answer none of this. We have to select the option none of these. That's all about the chapter. I have completed all the questions and all the concepts in this chapter together. And if you find this video useful, please share this to your friends, subscribe to the channel, and then you will be liking this video also, so that it will reach to more people and more people get benefit from this video. Thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing. Thank you.